One of the very important things about parenting that we have to be really mindful of is how our children are learning from our own behaviors. How are you modeling the behaviors that are being exhibited? I work with the parents to find out what it is that the child is exhibiting and trying to learn of where may they be picking this up. So if it is that example of not being able to share, not being able to do things with other peers within social settings, it's really, really good to ask yourself, like, what am I doing in terms of modeling those healthy behaviors, modeling those positive ways of communicating, those healthy ways of attaching and bonding with other individuals. And we all know this, as we grow older and just in social settings and social norms is, parents will say that kids imitate everything that they see adults doing. And which is a very, very good point to bring up and very valid fact in terms of, because where else are they learning these skills? And in those developmental years, children are home. The first, again, coming back to that bonding and imprinting, the first person that they're having their needs being met by, they're going to embody the behaviors, the way they're being communicated. And so it's very, very important for parents to highlight and identify with them themselves. What am I doing to help either, I wouldn't say focusing too much on like the negative aspects of what I'm doing. I would say let's focus more on, how can I work on the way I'm modeling this behavior? So as we identify the behaviors that we learn, one other thing that we need to highlight is the way we process and the way we view anxiety and stressors in our life have a very big generational implication from that. And so everything that we learn, there's a generational trait. So how I process some of my stress and anxiety, I can definitely see that within my own parents, the way they process their anxiety and depression. So if I'm ever stressed out about something, or as a parent, as you're identifying these things, looking at, what do I do around my child when I'm feeling stressed or anxious? It becomes really easy for us to forget that, becoming hyper aware of certain things or reacting a certain way when we feel a stressor coming on and right in front of our children, we have to understand that they're picking up on this, whether they're not consciously paying attention. It is important to know that on a very subconscious level, it's being put into this bank of what it looks like. So we have to look at what are some things that research has shown us about this. So there's this example of the Bobo doll, which is like Bobo the clown. So a psychologist by the name of Albert Bandura did an experiment with a child and their mother. And what the example was, he would put the mother in, or an adult, another caregiver adult, in the room with this blow-up Bobo doll, and they would have the child watching, and the parent would just start hitting the Bobo doll. They would start, kicking it, and then they would switch the rules, and they would put the child in there, and without any kind of direction, without any kind of insight, the child, all they knew to do with that Bobo doll was to hit it, and was to kick it, was just to, that was the play aspect of it, is hitting this Bobo doll. So again, that just goes to prove that what a child is seeing an adult do and what they're exhibiting and implementing in social settings has really, really been learned through the behaviors that are being modeled. So parents may wonder, what are some things that I can do to implement some of these healthy behaviors? And so the number one thing is always think and really process what you're going to do, how you're going to behave, what you're going to say, especially when your child is around. So when we take a step back and really think about what we're about to do, we have to know that the next word out of my mouth, the next action that is being displayed is going to really impact the understanding that my child has about this certain situation. So if my child sees me coming home from work and I'm really, really stressed out, I am not in a good mood, and my child approaches me, I talk to them, and my words are just not very happy. They may be very negative, or, if the child is asking like, hey, let's go outside and play. And you say, no, I'm too busy, or, work was crazy today. Things like that. So we really have to look at and really think about, what is it that I'm doing? What is it that I'm saying that is really going to embed into this child how to behave moving forward? So we need to highlight how we're modeling these positive behaviors. So one of the big things is to really model the healthy ways of processing anger, frustration, sadness. Those are some of the negative things that we know children are going to feel. And so if we're able to model those in a healthy manner, it's only going to help us and help the child in terms of how they're exhibiting those, whether it's in the home, whether it's at school, whether it's at soccer, other social settings. And so really focusing on how can I model positive ways of coping, whether that's practicing good self-care, whether it's incorporating and including everybody in your family to, if you do yoga for self-care, maybe bring in your child, maybe bring in your partner, bring in other caregivers, other family members. So then now this is a family activity. This is a routine. This is a part of our family system to practice self-care. And the more we can practice self-care, the more our children will learn to trust us. And we keep coming back to that keyword of trust. And so this is where keeping promises, keeping our word on things that we're going to do. If you take a toy away from the child, it's only fair that you also have something like that when, if we're saying like, hey, at nighttime, we are going to limit our screen time. It's only fair to practice that as well, especially around them, because you don't want to have that disorganized thinking. And so focusing on those positives, focusing on the sameness of following through with what you're telling your child to do versus what you're doing. And so that's only going to help. It's only going to help us build that trust with them and for them to be able to trust others as they come across it. In order to show our children that we're actually listening, learn to listen actively. Learn to repeat back what you're hearing your child say. Let them know that you heard them. Let them know that when they're talking about how sad they feel or how horrible of a day at school that they had, or that, maybe someone is not sharing a toy with them, or maybe they're upset about, not having a certain treat in the house or a certain snack. And just listen to them, entertain what they're saying, and really support them in being able to share. Whether it is, we've had a long day, that's where it becomes hard as a parent. We need to find that good balance of what it is for me that right now that it means, or what it is that I'm teaching my child. Like if I'm really upset and my child is trying to engage with what they're saying, or they're trying to engage me in their conversation, but I keep brushing them off, it just really instills that idea that their ideas are not important, that what they're communicating to is not important at all. And so that really reduces that confidence, that independence. And so the more you're able to listen actively, the more you're able to hear them. And so this is where it becomes important as well of purposeful playing, and actually having those routines of what playtime looks like, what nighttime looks like. And so these are things that we will definitely cover in later sections of what it means to incorporate some of these day-to-day tasks into building that trust and being able to build that connection.